welcome back to my channel. Oh my goodness, it feels so good to be filming back properly again. In case you're new to the channel, excuse the bandage. I have eczema. I'm going through UV treatment, which is working really well. I'll do a whole separate video on that in the future. It's just to keep it protected. Another quick disclaimer I need to do before we dive into today's topic is my last video was very emotional because I've been so poorly physically. We still don't know exactly what it is. It's some kind of like a bronchitis, chest infection thing, or we really don't know for sure. But I'm on the mend, as you can tell. I'm feeling better. So if I do sound a bit chesty in this video, I do apologise. But that's not going to hold me back because I said I was going to film today, and I am. And I really think this video can help. So today's topic is going to be part 2 of 3 of my addiction series. I'm going to be talking all about the difference between a cocaine and an amphetamine come down. So sometimes I script my videos, sometimes I don't. And this one, because I've been so poorly, I haven't been able to get on my laptop and type up a script and stuff. So it's kind of off the cuff. But the thing is, my history, so I've been clean for a long time now. But my history, I've gone through so many come downs, I couldn't remember them to a T. So I don't feel like I need to script this. So basically what I'm going to do, the format will be just, rather than structuring it, just discussing the process of. So we'll start with cocaine first and then do amphetamine like the last one. And we will talk about, so from when your last usage of the drug is, so when you take your final dose, to the whole process of getting off it is horrendous. Like, this is going to be a gritty video. Let me just put it that way. Like, I'm going to be brutally honest because come downs are bad. All the way through. And I'll also talk about the duration. So how long it takes till you start to feel even slightly back to yourself again. Because yes, again, like I said in my last video, they're both stimulants, but they both act very differently to each other, or they did for me. And the come downs were also very different to each other. So I feel that it's important to discuss them separately. So I'll go through I don't want to call it a journey because that makes it sound good. There's nothing glamorous about this. The process of coming off cocaine and then the process of coming off amphetamine. By the way, if you're thinking, well, what use is this video? What's the point in this video? There's actually a few reasons why I think this could be helpful. First of all, I'm not one to judge because I've been there and I lived and breathed it. So I think that if someone is suffering right now and they watch this video, they can know what to expect from the come down because it can hit you like a train and you don't realise how bad it's going to be. So if you're prepared, you know what you've got to go through. Also, it could put people off because the high is nowhere near worth the come down, and I can bet my life on that. Even though I was addicted for years, the come downs are horrendous. But also, part 3 of the series is going to be tips on how to safely get through the high and safely get through the come down as well. So today is just going to be about the process itself, but part 3 will be with advice too. So I guess I'm kind of trying to scare you off, but with facts about, and I can only talk about my experiences and what I've been through, but I've seen other people go through it too. So I think what I'm saying is pretty accurate. Okay, so let's start off with cocaine. So from for me personally, when you stop using cocaine, when it's run out or your dealer's not picking up whatever, you can't get any more, that's when you've got to start coming off it. And I found, surprisingly, the cocaine come down worse than the amphetamine one, even though the amphetamine one messed me up more, which I'll explain later in the video. So the main reason that the cocaine come down is so difficult is because it just makes you want more cocaine. It's all you can think about. So you'll have your last use, you won't be able to sleep that night, so you'll be up that evening and you might try sleep, so you'll be like lying there trying to sleep, just trying to sleep it off and get through to the next day. And you know, when you're lying there, and then if anyone's got insomnia, you might relate to this a bit, but amplify that by 1,000. And you'll start to see like the sunlight come up and the birds chirp, and you think, oh my goodness, like what am I going to do? And then you've got a whole other day to face without having any sleep to sleep it off. And it's just absolutely horrendous. So the worst part of a cocaine come down is the fact that you desperately will want more cocaine. And that is the hardest part I found, because it's all that plays on your mind. You can't distract yourself with doing other stuff to get through it because you're just desperate for more. And you can't sleep because you're just desperate for more. And you're also hyped up because it's a stimulant. So yeah, that is the worst part of a cocaine come down, and that is the start of it, is you're going to want more. Okay, so for me, I found, sorry, I'm not looking at the camera. For me, I found I was unable to sleep for the first, so say if I ran out at, I don't know, like 1 a.m, let's call it, after a few days of a binge, I wouldn't be able to sleep that night, and it'd be horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I made over 100 calls one night trying to source more. That is just crazy talk. That is how desperate I was. They're asleep by now, you know, you've got no chance. And you don't want to because it's a horrendous drug. Watch my last video about the highs to understand why. So anyway, my point is, you won't be able to sleep. And then, yeah, not going to be particularly hungry, but you kind of want it. You want to sleep and you want to be hungry, but you can't. Your body and brain won't allow it because of what you've taken and what you've put into yourself. So where you go from there is, I'd say it takes 3 days to start feeling back somewhat normal again. That is the duration I'd give for a cocaine come down. So what I'll do now is just talk through what the next two, because obviously I've described the first day where you get the no sleep and all that. So I'll just sort of describe now how it follows and then kind of how it ends and how it starts to feel again after that. But yeah, it's absolutely horrendous, and especially that first bit. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know if I said this in my other video, but I had multiple suicide attempts coming off cocaine within them first few hours, and I mean serious attempts, because I could not face the come down. It was absolutely horrendous. So not worth it. So if you've never done it, don't do it. So then from there, of course, eventually you're going to be able to sleep. And when you do, fantastic. That's when things are going to start to get better. So when I'd managed to finally sleep it off, it'd be a bit of a weird sleep. I don't know how to explain, like a bit of a light sleep. It wouldn't be proper because your brain's still a bit stimulated, you know? So you're not in like a deep sleep or anything. But then when I'd wake up from that sleep, even if it'd be like the day after, if that makes sense. So you'd have your first day where you can't sleep, and then maybe you'd be able to sleep that following night. And then you'd wake up from that and you feel more with it. You might get your appetite back a little bit. So I remember I used to go down to my mum's and be like, what's in the fridge? Like, can I eat something? I'm hungry. She'd be like, yes, of course. And because obviously my whole family were very worried during the time I was going through that. But that's a whole other topic. But when you've got family going through it, you can't tell them what to do because they're going to do what they're going to do. You can only be there to support them. So she'd help me with food and stuff. So yeah, my appetite would come back. I'd get a decent, well, kind of decent sleep. And the craving, this is the main part, the cravings would start to wear off. So they'd still be there. You kind of left a crossroads at this point. So you can either choose to get off it completely because you've gone through the worst and eat and be comfortable, and now you can start to concentrate on things again. So you could put a box set on and get comfy. You could go see a friend, you know, your concentration's coming back and cocaine's going a bit less to the forefront of your mind. Or you can choose to go score again, which I'd never advise because then you're just stuck in this cycle. So if you choose the first option to get better, then you're on the right road. and you get whatever food down you can. Normally my appetite would be pretty standard by this point. I'd be able to eat a decent meal. And then by the sleep after that, I'd be all right. So yeah, the only thing is you still do have that craving ticking in the back of your mind. And that's what you got to fight through. And that's what I need to get through into this video. Because if you fight through that and you get through that and you get through them 3 days, I'm not saying that's going to cure everything, but you're going to be a hell of a lot closer to getting off this substance. And also, you're going to break the cycle. The main thing is breaking the cycle. And the first 3 days, I think, are the hardest. And after that, it becomes easier and you find comfort in other things and you don't have to worry about sourcing it and sleepless nights and all this kind of stuff. It's like, right, okay, it's out my system now. I think it shows in your system in like a drug test for like, it's either 3 or 5 days. I should know that by now. Because I did plenty in the past, maybe 3 days. So if you can get through them first 3 days, then keep going, keep going, keep going. And I think that brings us to the end of how a cocaine come down works. And all I want to say is, it's absolutely horrendous. You'll hate every second of it, but you know it's not going to last forever. And just when you've got that, like I say, the fork in the road of do I or don't I? Do I go back or do I get better? Choose the comfort. Don't go back to the drug. Choose the resting and the seeing family or friends and the snuggling up in bed. Like, just choose that option, because then you've won the fight. Okay, so I'm hoping I've been able to put into words how horrendous a cocaine come down is. I can't think of anything worse I've been through in my life, and I lost an eye. So that included, I still would say cocaine come downs are worse. But like I say, doesn't last forever. Don't do anything silly while you're trying to come down off it, like I've done in the past, trying to end things or anything like that. You don't need to do that. You just need to stay strong, stay comfortable. If you've got a support network, rely on them. They will help you through. Like I say, get through the first 3 days. And also, if you're ever struggling, message me. You can always drop me like a YouTube comment or whatever, and I can help you, because I was addicted for 4 years, 3.5 years clean now, never ever going back, and I see it for how destructive it was now. But at the time I didn't, and that's why I don't judge, because it really grasped me at the time, and now I'm happy, healthy and free. And that's what I want everyone in the world to be. So now we will move on to the amphetamine come down. And this is going to be gritty as well. So yeah, strap your seatbelts in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay, so amphetamines. Now, on my channel, I always believe in, my number one principle is 100% honesty. So I'm not going to lie to you about this and about the duration of how long it can take to get well. This is for me personally, but also other people I've seen too. So I believe this is kind of a universal thing. Now, bearing in mind, so it can take up to a month to feel right again after using, but I'd go on 10-day binges. My cocaine binges would be about 3 days, which you'd know if you watch my high video, which I'd recommend you watch first, the part 1 of the 3 series. So I could use up to 10 days, but even if you used for 1 or 2 days, you'd be looking at 2 weeks to feel right again. And the way I can explain it is like, when you're on the come down, your brain everything just turns grey. Everything in life is grey and bleak, and I'll go more into detail, but the light is switched off and you just waiting and waiting and waiting, and then eventually the light will switch back on again and you'll feel joy and happiness. But let me explain this a bit by science, and I'm sorry if I get any of this wrong, but the way the dopamine receptors work, so with cocaine, you've got your receptors, and the dopamine stores up and is released in like a burst. So that's how that works. Whereas with amphetamine, it like creates false dopamine, as far as I'm aware, something along the lines of that. So it's forcibly doing something to your brain that it shouldn't do. So when you're on a come down, you're absolutely pickled. And like I said, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I'd wake up after finally being able to sleep, and I'd wish it was a bad dream and that I'd never have used in the first place. And that was every single time I'd have a relapse. I would cry and cry and cry and be like, no, please let this be a bad dream. I cannot go through this come down. I can't face it. But it's still not as bad as a cocaine come down. So let me just explain what I'm talking about in a bit more detail. So basically, from the start, what you probably going to go through is with amphetamine, it generally keeps you up for a very, very long time. It depends how long you use it for, but I know for me, I was using it for extended periods of time, and it became to a point where I would literally just, because I would refuse to sleep. I didn't need to sleep. I didn't want to sleep, and eventually my body would just be like, "You're sleeping," and I wouldn't even try and fall asleep. It just happened eventually, and I would have depleted every source. So because I wouldn't have been eating and sleeping and drinking and all that kind of stuff, I'd be really very, very, very run down. And when you wake up, so basically you're going to be up for days. And when you finally crash, see, the crash is actually easier. This is what I'm getting at. The crash is easier because you don't have to force yourself to go to sleep, because your body will naturally do it. But I'm not advising that you push it to that point, because I ended up in hospital so many times from doing that. It's not safe. But it's easier in a way because you just nod off eventually. And I would, but the thing is, the first sleep I'd have would only be for a few hours. You're talking maybe, say if I crashed at 3 a.m. on the final use, and I'd still have stuff left over, but my body and brain, I could take no more. And I might wake up at, say, 7 a.m. And like I said, I just burst into tears, thinking, I just, because of what you've done with your dopamine, you're all messed up. Everything's just despondent. I don't know how to explain it. You're just so down. But please keep watching, because it does get better. So you'll wake up from that brief sleep, and you're not probably going to be able to eat because you're not going to be hungry. Also, because of the psychosis, if you suffer with psychosis, which most people that use it do, especially if you're heavy users, and I did, watch my psychosis video. I'll leave a link in the description and you'll realise how bad it gets. I'd wake up still in psychosis and I'd be so agitated. It was just absolutely horrendous. I could not relax. I didn't know how I was going to get through even one day. Just with this, and I'd like itch at my skin still, even though I'd slept a little bit, and it'd just be awful. Now, I'm prescribed diazepam, but I know not everyone is, and I would never advise sourcing it if you're not prescribed it. But if there's any calming techniques you have, you're going to want them for the first day. Now, I know I said it can last up to a month, but a little bit of hope for you. Once you get through day one, things do get better. So let's just talk through the process of how it goes. So yeah, day one, gonna be horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But the only difference I can say that makes it easier than the cocaine come down that I was talking about before is when I would have slept, even them brief hours, what did I say, 3 till 7, which was standard for me back in the day. That seemed to be how it'd work each time. When I'd wake up, I would not want more amphetamine. I would not crave it in the slightest. Like I said, I'd have it left over. I'd have it stored away, and I'd be like, no. I just wish I'd not done it. I want to get better. I want to get better now, immediately. I want this to go away. So that's what makes the come down easier, because you're not drawn to taking more. I mean, in a way, I guess you could think like, oh, maybe if I took more, I wouldn't have to face the come down. But the agitation and stuff I'd be going through, it's like if I take more, I am definitely going to end up in hospital. Like I say, I had many times, but if I'd have taken more again, and there was just no craving for it at that point. It was like, I don't want it. I just want to get well. So day one, like I say, you're not probably going to be hungry at all. What I would advise is you do need fluids. And I'm not going to go too much into advice on this video because that's for part 3. But you're going to really struggle to settle. And once you've woken up, you might not be able to get back to sleep again for the rest of that day. And you're going to be agitated. So anything you can do to calm you down, do that. But when you go to sleep again that night, it's kind of similar to cocaine in a way, but it's a longer, more drawn out process, because I believe it does more damage to your brain. I believe it's done me permanent brain damage, which is why I'm on meds for life, because of what it did and the states I'd be in when I'd be on it. So you need to get through that first day of the complete agitation. So get through that, then you'll have a proper long sleep. And you talk, when I say long, you're looking at about maybe 16 hours. And from there, things do start to improve. So all you got to do is get through that first day of, oh, I don't like it, what do I do? Just try to stay comfortable. And then the proper sleep will come. And yeah, relief will ensue. So I'm not saying it's all sunshine and rainbows from your 16-hour sleep after that. It's not, like I say, it's a long process to get well. So I'd actually be, like I said, I've got to be honest, I'd be bedridden for around 2 weeks. And I'm a very motivated person. I like completing tasks and projects and missions and all these kind of things. I wouldn't be able to do any of that. My brain couldn't comprehend it. I didn't have the dopamine to have the will to do it. So what I do is just go on my phone. I just go on my phone and just browse stuff. Just stay comfortable and browse stuff. But the thing is, if you're like working and stuff, that's going to be difficult, because if you're using, you can't afford to then just have 2 weeks to try and recover. Whereas because I was an addict and I was so ill and I've got so many issues, I was able to take that time. So this is why I'm saying, like, just don't do it in the first place. Like, don't do it, because you're not just going to take it on a Friday and then be all right on a Monday, probably. Unless you, I don't know, it's different for different people, but not from what I've seen and from what I know. So yeah, you wake up from your long sleep, and the psychosis will have worn off by then, mostly. So you won't be as agitated, you'll be more comfortable, your appetite will start to come back. But what it is, so like I said with cocaine, I'd be able to eat a decent meal. With amphetamine, it was more like maybe a little bit of soup, maybe a vitamin drink, just retraining your stomach. Because I could lose like, over half a stone. I'm not advocating it, because I'd put on more when I recovered than when I'd been using, but I would lose around half a stone during the usage, and it was mainly dehydration. So as soon as you eat and drink, you'll put it back on. So don't use it for weight loss. It doesn't work, and that's not why I did it. But I'd be so weak, and I'd have to gradually refuel my body. And nothing that brought me passion, all the things that people are passionate about, all the like hobbies and things people have, be like, no, and I'd be so poorly, so run down, like a bit like the flu. Yeah, I'll describe it as like the flu, because I've had the flu and it's a similar thing, but with the mental aspect as well. So you're going to be very run down. And you're going to need to rest. There's no doubt about it. You have to rest, because your body and brain need to rest, because you've taken everything out of it you can. But once you've had that proper sleep and stuff, yeah, things get better. You have your rest. And the way I would advise it is, what I'd do is, like I said, I'd go on my phone and just like browse YouTube videos that were of interest to me, just mindless stuff really, just to keep me occupied and get me through the days until I started feeling better. But what I can promise you is each day that passes, you start feeling a bit stronger and a bit stronger and a bit more like yourself. Because when you're on the initial come down, you don't feel like you at all. It's like your soul has been ripped from your body and you're not you. You don't know who you, there's nothing. You're just an empty shell of nothingness. And then each day as you recover, you start to feel yourself coming back bit by bit. And I can promise you that because I've gone through it enough times that I know it for an absolute fact. So once I'd realised the pattern of how this goes, and like I say, I'd advise just don't do it in the first place. What is the point? Like, what is the actual point of putting yourself through this? But like I say, this isn't about judging. So I knew I had to wait it out. So the first few days I'd be useless. I'd have to get help with everything. Couldn't prepare any of my own food. I actually couldn't get out of bed, and that's not a cliche. Couldn't get out of bed. Like I couldn't get out of bed. If I needed to go to the toilet, I'd have to have help getting down because I'm on the top floor. I'd have to have help getting down the stairs because I'd be so weak. I'd cry a lot. I'd feel numb a lot as well. Just nothing. Just no dopamine, and that's because of what I explained before. And as the days go on, you feel the dopamine start to kick in a bit. So I'd maybe after a while think, oh well, I can get my notebook out and I can still lie here because like I can't move and I can't get out of bed, but I can still lie here and write a bit in my notebook, and then maybe progress that to doing some work on my laptop. And then at first you're forcing yourself a little bit. You are, and I'm going to admit that, but you need to do that. So you need to rest first, and then when you start to feel a bit of stuff creeping back in, a bit of emotions and a bit of dopamine and stuff creeping back in, start introducing things back, but very gradually, because it's difficult when the dopamine ain't there. You got to force it. And then I'd do that. And then I'd be like, well, maybe I could hide in my room, because when I'd be on amphetamine, my room would be a state, because I think when I'd be high, I think I'd be cleaning it and I'd make an absolute shit tip of it. Sorry about my language, but I would. I think I'd be cleaning it and I'd just make a mess. So maybe after a few more days, I could actually get up and maybe tidy my room a little bit, and so on and so forth. And also socialising, so I could go on Facebook, because I couldn't, my friends would come around and see me. If that's not an option for you, you could still go on Facebook and contact people, because that helped me a lot, just to help me through it, because people knew what I was going through, so they didn't judge. And then from there, the light comes back. So let me talk about the light, because if you're going through an amphetamine come down, that is what you're waiting for, and that is what is going to happen, I swear down. So when I talk about the light, like I said before, everything will be very dull and subdued and colourless and grey and bleak and horrible and just... And then one day you get like, so you work it and you work it, and like I say, you have to force it a bit, and you've got to do things to try and get back into things, even though you don't really want to, but you do over time after you've rested. And then you'll reach a point, if you work at it, where you go like, it's literal ping, and you feel joy, and you feel dopamine, and you feel back in your body and back like you. And I'll just give an example. I forced myself to go out for a run. It was around 2 weeks after I'd started the come down. So like I say, it's a lengthy process. If you're using for less time than I was, your come down's going to be less, but it's still going to be horrendous, and I got to be honest. But I went out for a run, and I forced myself to do that. And as I was running, because I love running, running's one of my favourite activities to do, like long distance running, I love it. I just find it gives me so much clarity. But I didn't want to go on this run. And I built up enough strength and eaten enough food and stuff over time to have the strength to go for a run. And as I was, at first I was like, I put my trainer, oh, I don't want to go, all this, that and the other. And I did it. And as I started running, I was like, I like this. I'm enjoying this running. And then it was literally like I said, I snapped back into my body. And that was it. I want to say fixed, like healed. I was healed. So it does heal over time. And what you got to do is just take the steady steps to get there, because it's going to be a long process. But what I will say, you can do it, and it is fully possible. And I always did heal eventually. But is it worth it for either of the substances to put yourself watch my first video about the high and how pointless the highs actually are, to put yourself through these come downs. Is it worth it? Is it worth going through that? Because my life would be on standstill whilst I had to heal from both substances. I was addicted to cocaine first, and then I was addicted to amphetamine after that. And both of them destroyed me. And it's like I had to work so hard. And I could make so much progress in my life. And then one little blip had set me back. It's like I could have all these plans and stuff, and they'd all have to get put on hold because I couldn't do them, because I'd have to focus on getting through the come down. So I promise you can get through come downs on both substances. And my next video will be all about how to help with that, because I really want to help. But it's really not worth it. So just, if you can, just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make the same mistakes I did in the past. So I think I've covered everything, and that brings this video to an end. Like I say, it wasn't scripted, so I hope when I look back on it, it's all right to edit and post and stuff. I'm so excited, honestly, to be able to post today. I hope it's been able to help people. I hope it's been able to educate people that drugs are bad. We all know that, but this is what anyone can tell you that, but this is the reality of why. If I could go back and change things, I would, but then how would I be able to help people now? But they took many years of my life that I cannot get back, and really left me very poorly and with permanent issues too. So I just want to educate from my own experiences, and I hope I've been able to do that today. So part 3, like I said, is going to be even more helpful, hopefully. So what I'm going to do is talk about the tips of how to safely get through a high. So if you are using, like I say, I'm not here to judge. I hope you plan on getting off it, and I'll do relapse prevention stuff in the future. If you are using, how to stay safe as you can, and also how to get through the come down safely. So I've discussed the come downs today, but I'm going to give tips next time. And I am not advocating at all using. I want to obliterate drugs from the planet. I think they ruined me. They took my eye, took my life, everything. But if I can help by putting a video out with things that because I've had to get through many a high and many a come down in my life, and I've found techniques that helped me during my journey of getting clean. So if I can do that with my next video, then surely that's a good thing. So yes, I might be rambling because this wasn't scripted. And so hopefully today's video has been helpful. Stay tuned for part 3. And then after that, I've got many more ideas for the channel about tons of different categories of things that I think will interest you, and either be not just educational, but sometimes just fun to watch as well. Just fun little videos too. But this 3-part series is very important to me. So leave a comment, let me know you found it. If you did find this helpful, please subscribe, because if you subscribe, it shows me I'm doing a good thing. It shows me I'm helping. When I see I got a subscriber, it's like, yay, I've done something good and I've helped another person. And I'm really putting myself out here saying all this stuff. I'm talking about my own experiences and my own past quite openly and honestly. And also, yeah, any comments, any questions, please feel free to leave and I will always respond. So I love you all very much. I hope you like this video and ciao for now.